Your thoughts?
What? What? Who?
Nice.
On the dot, it is our daily show on this anticipated snow day. We got a good one for you. Coming down the pipeline, what we're going to do, because, of course, just like all the area schools that went to remote learning today and folks canceling their appointments, we had folks decide to reschedule today, and then we decided it might be for the best. So what we're going to do... Pardon my sinuses, is we're going to be bringing you top of the hour news right here now, bringing you the live elements of our daily show, plus some really great interviews that you might have missed. So I hope you stay tuned now for top of the hour news and then some of our best conversations of our daily show. Let's dive right into top of the hour news now. On this 12th day of February, here's what you need to know. A lot of conversation on this one. Community leaders and social service workers came together to learn more about homelessness in Madison County, including a proposal for a new shelter. On Tuesday, February the 11th, Hand Up Housing, an inner city mission, presented Homelessness Reexamined, a workshop focused on solutions to homelessness. Danny Robinette, who joined us on the show a few days ago to fill us in a little bit on this, she's the executive director of Hand Up Housing, and Scott Payne with Inner City Mission explained how homelessness has evolved and their plans to combat homelessness in Madison County as well. In 2024, an outreach team with HUH, Hand Up Housing, identified 251 individuals who are experiencing street homelessness in Madison County. Payne and Robinette clarified that many who are considered homeless are actually shelterless, meaning they don't have the capacity for consent, rational thought because of a substance use a consistent rational thought, because of a substance use disorder or a mental health disorder. They believe that shelterlessness is systematic and can be solved. They shared the story of a man named Melvin, a man helped by Inner City Mission in Springfield who experienced psychosis. Payne and Robinette urged the audience to think about the, quote, Melvins, end quote, in the community. To solve the issue of shelterlessness, Hand Up Housing has proposed 7 solutions, starting with a tailored technician team. These teams of 3 would build a relationship with an individual experiencing homelessness with an aim of becoming a relational resource to that individual. In 2025, they hope to recruit, train, and deploy 30 tethered technician teams. The second solution proposed is an open, quote, navigation center, end quote, in rural Madison County. This 24/7, 365-day-a-year low-barrier shelter would be for adults only and would be privately funded. Hand Up Housing plans to construct the shelter throughout 2026 and 2027 with the goal of opening in 2028. Payne emphasized the importance of building a foundation of relationships before opening the shelter. Here's what she had to say on this point. You really don't see too many places that's really being tried or done. Some of the most successful in the nation are places that have done the relationship, and they've taken an aspect of shelterless and worked with that. The success have always started with a solid relationship first. That's what Robinette had to say. The third solution would be create a permanent supportive housing through the Riverbend Bridge Community, a program that provides tiny homes for shelterless individuals who want to live independently in a supportive community. Hand Up Housing's goal is to begin housing people in the Riverbend Bridge Community by 2030. No update on that location. With the goals, while these goals are being implemented, 4 other simultaneous goals, including codifying codes and ordinances, unifying Madison County on street homelessness, and advocating for change in state and federal laws and expanding access to mental health services. A full write-up available on RiverBender.com, but wanted to give you this story as in-depth as I could with the time constraints that we have, because so many have reached out and weighed in on that interview that I've had, and wanted to provide you more information. Also in the news today, while that freezing rain, sleet, and that wintry mix is coming on down this morning, we are going to get to weather here in a second. Ameren, Illinois showed up on the show a couple of weeks ago, and they showed out. Kevin Young really brought down the house and spoke to us all about what it really takes to be an Ameren lineman. And as the manager of the Ameren, Illinois Electric Training and a former line worker himself, he emphasized the importance of evolving landscape of the utility industry during that recent discussion about career opportunities and challenges in the field. He visited us right here on RiverBender.com, which was also pretty appropriate to run today with all the snow, ice that's predicted coming in. And Young highlighted the importance of rigorous training for new linemen, the increasing participation of women in the workforce, and the significant impact of extreme weather on power restoration services. Young shared protocols for safety during emergencies such as this. If a line is on your car due to a down power line and it's safe to do so, stay in the car and call for help. Do not get out. We will get someone out as quickly as possible. His team collaborates with local stakeholders, including fire departments, hospitals, to maximize the efficiency of restoration efforts. Here's what he had to say when it came to weather conditions. He said ice is the worst. 1/4 to 1/2 inch of ice can become insurmountable for some lines in our system. That's what he had to say. He noted the safety is always the first priority when assessing the damage and restoring power. We can restore energy as long as those lines stay energized, he added, cautioning, like we talked about earlier, that those down lines should always be treated as live, active lines as well. For a full write-up and to learn a little bit more about what the Ameren career opportunities are, you can see that on RiverBender.com/daily show. A Granite City man is facing multiple felonies for firing a weapon at an occupied vehicle in a residential neighborhood. My apologies. Travion D. Brooks, 31 of Granite City, charged with aggravated discharge of a firearm, a Class 1 felony, and reckless discharge of a firearm. That's a Class 4 felony. These charges stemmed from January the 29th. Brooks allegedly shot multiple times at a vehicle he knew was occupied, and court documents do state that he repeatedly discharged the firearm in a densely populated residential neighborhood. The, quote, reckless manner, end quote, with which he discharged the weapon reportedly endangered the safety of residents in the 2800th block of Iowa Street. A petition filed to deny Brooks's pretrial release included a report from a neighbor who witnessed the incident unfold that indicated that Brooks was the shooter. Here's what the statement said. The resident reported that his neighbor was outside arguing with a female and reportedly discharged a firearm into her vehicle as she fled. The reporting party's neighbor was identified of the suspect, Travion Brooks. After finding multiple shell casings on the scene and located that female victim, who indicated she was the victim of that shooting but denied that her ex-boyfriend, Travion Brooks, was involved, officers observed her vehicle to have multiple bullet holes in it. The Granite City Police Department presented this case against Brooks, who is remanded to jail for his initial court appearance, but has since been granted pre-trial release from custody. Please note, as always, that all charges are based upon probable cause and are not an indication of guilt. And if you or somebody you know is struggling with domestic violence, please know that there is help out there. You can always call 800-799-7233, and you can also go online to the hotline.org, where you can get more updates and more help from the National Domestic Violence Hotline. And we always like to throw that in case, that could help anybody out there in terms of this story as well. Also in the news today, Dalton Brown has this one. The Glen Carbon Road Shared Use Path project is getting closer to construction. As the village seeks funding for Phase 1 at Tuesday's board meeting, Public Works Director Scott Slimmer said construction may even start this summer. Phase 1 improvements will span 0.28 miles of Glen Carbon Road from Oakdale Lake Drive to Lakewood Drive. The project's second phase would extend the shared use path from Lakewood Drive to Mark Trail, and once fully completed, the path will connect Schoen Park and Route 159. Trustees on Tuesday unanimously approved a joint funding agreement for federally funded construction between the village and IDOT for the project's first phase. For a full write-up, you can see that on RiverBender.com /news. Before we take a quick break, let's take a look at weather. Yes, that winter weather advisory has been issued and will last until about 6 p.m. tonight. Total mixed precipitation, total snow, including sleet accumulation, up to 3 to 5 inches, and ice accumulations of a light glaze in portions of south central, southwest Illinois, and south central and east central Missouri. Plan on slippery road conditions when it starts, and the hazardous conditions could impact that Wednesday commute all throughout the day. Temperatures right now, as it sits, we're taping a little bit early because of just getting the news out there. It's 29 degrees so far in downtown Alton. It feels like 27 today. It will be cold with periods of snow and sleet accumulating 1 to 3 inches during the day, but it will rapidly deteriorate the road conditions, so be careful. However, coming down the pipeline this evening into tonight, snow this evening, accumulating 2 to 4 inches, otherwise breezy and colder with low clouds. Snow total could range from 4 to 6 inches in our region. Untreated surfaces will be slippery, so please be mindful of that. You can stay informed on all of our weather alerts, especially on days like this, by texting RB to 618-202-4618. That's RB 202-4618, and we'll sign you up for instant weather updates. You can also download the RiverBender.com app, and that'll keep you alerted all at the touch of a button, or just call that landmark phone number 618-465-4545, always powered by RiverBender.com, and this time powered by Tom Lane. He's your local State Farm agent. For all of you hurting out there like me with your sinuses, air quality is not the best today. It's about 65, so if you're having some problems, maybe take a Claritin. Hey, temperatures, they changed the high temperature for the day. They said it might reach 36 degrees or 39. Now they're calling for that high to stay right about the freezing line, 32 degrees. Temperatures for Wednesday drop down to 14 as we head into Thursday. On Thursday, a high of 25, a low of 13. And on Friday, partly sunny skies, a high temperature close to 40 degrees and a low temperature closer to 33. On Saturday, more snow and more rain in the forecast, a high of 42 and a low of 16. And on Sunday, it'll just be cold, a high of 22 and a low of 4. That's a look at the next 5 days, but here's what's happening now, my friends. It's cold in the heart of the 618, and we got snow. Stay up to date on all the condition changes at RiverBender.com /weather. Before I take a quick break and we dive into this best of, let me fill you in on our friends at OSF St. Anthony's Health Center. They're truly the best. You know, you see their ad banner running throughout the show, making me look like a NASCAR driver. And why? Because of community support. And no matter if it's with our daily show or no matter if it's with your health care, OSF St. Anthony's is here to support the community, no matter what, whether it's for your health needs or whether it's for just really community initiatives. And what I think is amazing about OSF Healthcare is we just had, one of their cardiologists on just the other day, and we were talking about all the new innovations that are happening right here in our own backyard. I mean, think about it. You guys know this. You used to have to drive so long to go get to these appointments, and just for normal things that really should be done in your local office, they're all here at OSF St. Anthony's now with this new work being done in the cardiology department, plus with that wound care clinic and their new their really innovative mental health services. There's so much that OSF offers. Plus, right now it's flu season. Listen, You don't want to clog up the emergency room, okay? You just don't. We always talk about that and making sure that is it the right time to go and should you go for it. I highly encourage you to go to OSF Prompt Care if you're not feeling the best. Don't clog up that emergency room, and maybe you don't want to waste that primary care visit. Go in there. Go into Prompt Care, and I'm promising you, they're going to treat you just like your family. And that's what I enjoyed out of it. We went the other day for my grandma, and I'm telling you what, anywhere in the world, I would take her there over it because they treated us so well, in and out, and she got better as quickly as we really got in there. So go to osfhealthcare.org/St. Anthony's Health Center to learn more about what St. Anthony's can do for you and your family today. Plus, if you need a new primary care provider, I highly encourage you to go within the OSF network.
Have a rash, pink eye, or urinary tract infection and need care now? OSF On-Call Urgent Care is here to treat you. Start a virtual visit 24/7, whenever and wherever you need it. It's just that easy. osfoncall.org/virtual visit.
Has free checking become a thing of the past? Not if Liberty has anything to say about it. With 3 free personal checking options and even a free business checking account, Free is alive and well at Liberty Bank, the local bank that gives you free checking choices and more cashing in your pocket. Bank locally, bank Liberty. For more information, visit www.bankliberty.com.
I set the thermostat so my house would be warm when I got home from work, but the kitchen is still cool.
At Barrett Heating and Cooling, we stand behind every Lennox system we sell.
My dealer said he'd take care of everything.
At Barrett Heating and Cooling, we understand everyone wants prompt, professional service.
Turns out it wasn't my furnace after all, just a little something blocking the vent.
Pretty smart dog if you ask me. For service you can count on, call Barrett Heating and Cooling.
Lennox. Innovation never felt so good.
Brant Walker knows how to get results for Alton because he's done it. As Mayor Brant froze the property tax levy and balanced the budget, his economic development policy stimulated $116 million in private capital investment. Community policing and increased resources for public safety led to a decrease in crime. And under Brant Walker's leadership, Alton secured more than $10 million in extra grant funds for infrastructure and park improvements. Move Alton forward with Brant Walker.
Macias Insurance Agency, providing quality products with extremely competitive prices. As an independent provider, we source multiple companies to offer the best rates possible, covering auto, home, business, and life insurance. Our goal is to provide quality service that meets and exceeds customer expectations. You can rest easy knowing the Macias team is working round the clock to ensure that both you and the most important parts of your life are covered. Our qualified professionals make the insurance process easy so you can live carefree and focus on what matters most. Visit MaciasInsuranceAgency.com today to find out what our team can do for you.
.com.
Baby, put your arms around me, baby. I just want to fly.
10:23, welcome back. Daily show smacking you in the nose on a Friday, 7th day of February. And I just want to point out, I had a major personal victory today, Danny, before we get into our segment here. For the audience, I needed to renew my driver's license. My dog got this one. I don't know if you can tell. The guy at the boat, when I went the other day, got it stuck in the machine. I told him not to put it in. I said, that's not going to work. Just scan it with the handheld. And he put it right in like this, and he couldn't get it out. I almost had to take the machine apart. So I'm helping all of us. I am officially eligible online for my renewal. Yeah! No online, no testing needed. They said, CJ, you're too good of a driver. Just take it, you know?
Yep. That's great. That's great.
Oh, goodness. Danny, Robinette?
Yes.
Did I do it right?
Yeah, you did great. Good job.
I botched something
You're on
in
fire
interview.
today.
I am on a roll. Here we go. Where you been? All right. Hand Up Housing is a nonprofit right here in the heart of the 618. And really just excited to have you on the show and learn more more about your mission. And with that being said, take me through an overview, if you will, of the organization.
Yeah, so it is Hand Up Housing, working mainly out of Alton, but for Madison County. The founder, Jason Bruno, had kind of a vision to expand his services in nonprofit world and wants to eventually build tiny homes to help people who are living on the street in our county. And then once we got together and talked, it was more of learning, well, there's a lot of groundwork to do to get to that point. I think some people are familiar with the struggle and the fight that's been Salvation Army and that kind of thing. So we were trying to take all of that and learn from it and see what are our solutions, what are our options, what can we do to not just help people on the street get into housing, safe and affordable housing, but also what can we do for our community? Because NIMBY is such a thing, and it's which is not in my backyard. And then to find out, our community deserves to be safe as much as our homeless or people who are experiencing that deserve to be safe as well. So we think that there's solutions that can serve everyone, not just one group of people.
Well, and I think you're right. I think it might take extended conversations or maybe a little bit of time, but I like the fact that you all have, ideas to bring to the table and say, because you're right. I mean, anyone that says you don't want to help somebody in need, I just can't buy that, for a second, because we all know somebody in our life that no matter what happens, when they call us, we pick up the phone and we make sure that we at least have a conversation. So, and it's good though that you're saying, we're going to weigh out both sides of that issue, because it is an issue. And I think it's very important for the public to know that too, that hey, there's a balance here. It's just finding that right balance.
Yeah, and I've heard that. Like, we listened to the city council meetings and the various different meetings they had when people spoke up, and we heard a lot of the same comment of, I want to help, but I really want to help, but and so I think that is a valid concern, and I think that we can keep talking together about it, because the problem's not going away.
No, and you're right. So it's instead of avoiding it, you have to have dialogue, I think. And there's no doubt about that. So to have a dialogue. And when did Hand Up Housing start to take shape?
We've been working, it'll be a year next month that I've worked.
Okay.
And I know Jason and Maddie were on that a little bit before I was, I think back in November of 23. Wow. So yeah, a few months past that. So it's fairly new, but we teamed up with Inner City Mission in Springfield, Illinois, that they've had a lot of success with not just getting people housed and helping get people off the street, but also outcomes that we want to see with people going back to living, just thriving in life, not just surviving and barely paying bills and not having a support system. There has been a lot of growth around people continuing to live thriving, healthy, good lives, giving back, that kind of thing. So,
well, and honestly, it's one of those, it's good to know just some of the back end work of what you guys have done and just kind of follow too, because it helps the public gain a broader understanding, I think, of what your mission is and just a little bit more of your guys' identity, as a whole too. And I think that's so important because you are actively researching and looking into this and also seeing these studies. I think it is fascinating, very fascinating.
Yeah, we've done a lot of local work with our own local data. With what are our statistics? What do the people who are working in the issue have to say? We've sent out some surveys trying to get information back from people on what their thoughts are. What kind of interactions are they having with people experiencing homelessness? So we've done a couple things that has kind of helped, paint the picture for different definitions of homelessness. With we break that down, and we're going to talk about that on Tuesday at our event. Okay. With we have just such a broad understanding of if you don't have a house, that doesn't mean you have a home, or if you don't have a home, that means you don't have A, B, and C. And that's usually different for everyone. And so we've really looked at, okay, let's take the elephant and try to eat a bite at a time and divide it out into a little easier understanding definitions. And so I know for me, I started working on this issue back in 2010. Inner city mission's been around 40 years. Donna, my coworker, has been working on it for 15, 16 years as well.
Wow.
And I think the combined experience at the mission up there is over 100 years of just people really studying this issue and kind of turning the shelter into a classroom to see how can we learn from people who come in, and how can we then take that to educate our community.
Well, and on top of that too, and really good just to know a little bit more of that experience level there and gaining that. But on take me through these local studies that you've, because I'm very fascinated by it. If it's okay to ask you a little bit on these, what have you been able to find with your data, and how have you approached data collection?
Yeah, so good question, because I think one thing I want to make sure is totally clear is that it's not that the current effort isn't doing anything. It is. There's so many. So when I started back in 2010, we were talking more about hidden homelessness. I was convincing people and talking to people about there are people couch surfing. There are people who we don't see. They're invisible, but they're there. True. I don't have to talk about that anymore.
Right.
Because we have people on our street who are now visible that we now see. And
well, and that's what I want to make sure when I ask, because it's not a pointed question. I find this so fascinating because there's been a big conversation about, homelessness, here in this area big time. And so to hear a little bit more of some of what you've been able to kind of collect with these stuff, that's why I mean that in all sincerity. I'm quite fascinated by this. Yeah,
it has been wonderful to work on. It has been it has been rough. It has been exciting. It has been rewarding. It has been there's just a multitude of things and I think that's why I'm drawn to this. I have my own live life experience as a kid with homelessness. Really? That I was totally disconnected from. I didn't understand. I just thought I wanted to do good things and help people. And then Scott, my mentor, said, Danny, there's a reason people get into this work. What is it? What is it for you? And he really kind of forced me to be oh, well, I guess I did go through this thing when I was a child that I just didn't understand would shape and drive my connection to it. So our data, and that has been the kind of the root of the people we're working with. I'm sure. If they don't have their own live life experience, then they know someone who does. And I got my start back in 2010, I think 2008, I was going out and doing street ministry on the riverfront in St. Louis. And there are two kinds of people I realized. We would go out and people would be oh my gosh, this is amazing. We're handing things out. I feel so good. This is wonderful. And then there were a handful of us that I was in that group of there's something wrong. Why do I get to go home and shower and live this life and they don't? That doesn't make any sense to me. And so I just kind of got fueled by what was happening and found some other people who were too. And so the back to the data collection question, we thought it was very important to look at what's already being done, give credit to those things, because we definitely don't want to say you're doing it wrong or what you're doing isn't enough or any of that.
Because there is effort.
There's so much more effort. And that's what I started to say. Back in the day, I was trying to convince everyone. And now we have, Riverbend Family Ministries. We have, Sacred Spaces of Care. We have
overnight warming location.
We have all these different places that are really trying to work on the issue, and not just work on the issue, but with the people. And building relationships with them.
How important is that, relationship, comparatively speaking, to maybe just what some perceived the former process of being when it came to a lot of these groups, and not saying anything locally, but just from a national perspective and just ways we viewed maybe pantries, and it was kind of a numbers mentality where it was take a number and we'll see you next week. Yeah. What is having a conversation and having that relationship doing just in terms of what you're seeing? Does it go further than that? And in terms of hand-up housing, is that relationship what's going to fuel the kind of what would lead to, that home being utilized in that life being able to flourish?
Oh, such a good question. Because I think my answer is that it's pivotal. It is the missing piece. Way back in the 80s when housing first began, which is the government's solution to homelessness, we put them in a house and that gets it to where we solve it with a house or a home or an apartment or whatever. And I want to give credit where credit's due. They've learned that that's not really the approach. More was needed.
I get you there. Okay.
Yeah. So like they in New York, they actually ended up doubling the amount of people experiencing homelessness because they took them off the street, popped them into a small home, and then they couldn't live. They had no support system. They had no friends. They would just go back out. And kind of abandon the houses they had been gifted. And so they learned, okay, we've got to get people wraparound services. We've got to get them support. We've got to help. There's like, why isn't this sticking? Because they would give somebody a home with a bed and a couch and they would sleep on the floor because they just couldn't handle that.
Yeah, well, and see, that's another fascinating point because just like we started this conversation with here in the community's kind of two-sided argument on this and this multiple points of view, there's more than just that property or more than just that I don't want to say, but we all see the social media influencer that hands out the gift. There's more to that than just handing out something to feel good. There's so much more than that goes into the mental health services that we talk about with Centerstone and some of these things that without it, I mean, it's just a Band-Aid.
Well, and spending on homelessness in our country is unprecedented.
Really?
We are spending more than we ever have. And so that was part of our question of why isn't money solving this issue? Why aren't houses that are being built solving the issue? Why aren't our, giveaway programs solving this issue? And we actually are going to talk about that on Tuesday with there's a little bit of history of how we arrived here with our modern solution to homelessness is outdated. It's the homelessness of the 60s, 70s, 80s, and we're still using that with, we think if we just give people a job and a house, we're going to solve their issue.
Yeah.
And we're actually dealing with trauma now. So when you asked about the relationship, it's pivotal. It's everything.
This is so fascinating. I mean, really is. And I know we're going to talk about the event here soon, which is coming down the pipeline. As you can see, homelessness re-examined on February the 11th. But I think it's so productive to have these conversations beforehand, though, just for folks to gain a little bit more insight, because it is such an important conversation that's happening around the region right now.
It is.
And, with that being said, did you have a moment to take a quick break? We'll come back, we'll chat a little bit more, and then we'll talk about the event.
Yes.
You stay there. We'll stay here on RiverBender.com. It's just above freezing, 32 degrees in downtown Alton. The temperature keeps dropping, but, who's looking at that? 10:36, more Daily Show next.
Have a rash, pink eye, or urinary tract infection and need care now? OSF On-Call Urgent Care is here to treat you. Start a virtual visit 24/7, whenever and wherever you need it. It's just that easy. OSFOnCall.org/virtual visit.
Has free checking become a thing of the past? Not if Liberty has anything to say about it. With 3 free personal checking options and even a free business checking account, free is alive and well at Liberty Bank, the local bank that gives you free checking choices and more cashing in your pocket. Bank locally, bank Liberty. For more information, visit www.bankliberty.com.
I set the thermostat so my house would be warm when I got home from work, but the kitchen is still cool.
At Barrett Heating and Cooling, we stand behind every Linux system we sell.
My dealer said he'd take care of everything.
At Barrett Heating and Cooling, we understand everyone wants prompt, professional service.
Turns out it wasn't my furnace after all, just a little something blocking the vent.
Pretty smart dog if you ask me. For service you can count on, call Barrett Heating and Cooling.
Lennox. Innovation never felt so good.
Brant Walker knows how to get results for Alton because he's done it. As Mayor Brant froze the property tax levy and balanced the budget, his economic development policy stimulated $116 million in private capital investment. Community policing and increased resources for public safety led to a decrease in crime. And under Brant Walker's leadership, Alton secured more than $10 million in extra grant funds for infrastructure and park improvements. Move Alton forward with Brant Walker.
Macias Insurance Agency, providing quality products with extremely competitive prices. As an independent provider, we source multiple companies to offer the best rates possible. Covering auto, home, business, and life insurance, our goal is to provide quality service that meets and exceeds customer expectations. You can rest easy knowing the Macias team is working round the clock to ensure that both you and the most important parts of your life are covered. Our qualified professionals make the insurance process easy so you can live carefree and focus on what matters most. Visit MaciasInsuranceAgency.com today to find out what our team can do for you.
You're listening to Our Daily Show with CJ Nasello on RiverBender.com.
I always have a pet peeve with this song because you listen to the chorus, you're like, oh God, this is a great song. And then you turn it on, you pull it up on YouTube, just a loop of My Sweet Lord for 4 minutes, you know? Welcome back. Daily Show at 10:40 on this very lucky 7th day of February.
Oh, yeah.
I lost gambling this morning. We're back with Hand Up Housing. Coming up on Tuesday, the 11th of February, Homelessness Reexamined. Now, this is going to be where?
It's going to be at, everybody wants to call it the old Holiday Inn. The former Holiday Inn. I think it's Great Rivers Ascend Hotel now.
We had a conversation about this on the show because that's where the forum was for East End, and I said, where is the Great Rivers Hotel?
Right.
So it's former Holiday Inn, Best Western Premier,
Yes.
but now the Great Rivers.
Yeah, Great Rivers Ascend Hotel, I think is what it's called. So I'm one of those people that will forever call it Riverport.
Yeah. Oh,
so I'm going to forever call this place Holiday Inn. I think I'm trying.
Yeah,
to,
no, I totally appreciate that too.
Yeah, but it's going to be there on Tuesday. So we have 2 sessions to choose from. We're doing the presentation twice that day. And so there's a morning session, which is 9 to noon, which is almost at capacity.
Wow, good for you.
I'm super stoked about that.
What's capacity? Just
150.
Whoa.
I know. Like, people want to talk about this.
I'm not even
people want to hear
funny.
about
I
this.
thought you were going to tell me like 50, 55.
Yeah, that's kind of what we were hoping for, and we're probably, I think last we checked, we're at 130.
Wow.
And then in the evening session, we have much more space, so it's probably around 50 for the evening session.
Well, that's still, though, to have 2 sessions because of it's pretty darn impressive.
Yeah, that's what I was super excited. I think people want to talk about this. So we've been trying to kind of, build bridges and talk with police departments and municipalities and different groups to see, because it's going to require everyone. It's gonna there isn't a one size fits all solution, and I think everybody has their part that they can do, and it's just gonna be a big undertaking, a community undertaking, and I think it can happen. So we want everybody and anyone to come who, churches, organizations, people who just have an interest and want to know more. And they're, people who work in it. So, well,
and this is where it takes me to my next point, because we have a couple of minutes left, and would love to have you back on after for a follow up, just to see what the engagement was there and what some of the thoughts were, because we're following this issue pretty closely, and to have your insights would be really important on this.
Yeah, for sure.
I want to take you to handuphousing.org. This is the website. So projects that you guys need to move forward. I wanted to ask you about some of these. This is Hand Up Housing Pathway to Affordable Housing. Acquire building lots in the Riverbend area. Funding for construction budget for each home. Total funding about 1.5. Can we volunteer and donate to that today? What does that entail?
That is, so we've kind of discussed this. These were the original projects that Jason came up with, and what we definitely still want to do.
Oh, that's what I was asking.
Definitely
I didn't want to throw something out.
Definitely want to do that. But there was also like this point of like, wait a minute, we've got to kind of get on the same page about where we're going.
Okay.
Before we start, because one of the things I've learned, and I think a lot of folks have learned along the way who were interested in it, is that the buildings don't solve the problem.
Very true. That's interesting, though.
Yeah.
So can we still donate, though, to the cause?
For sure,
because I think if people are interested, and that's very fascinating to hear you go, hey, no, it's still an idea, and that's still a project. It's just we have to take an additional step maybe to get to that.
Right.
That's very fascinating.
Yeah.
I love this.
Yeah.
Well, and see, it's good for the public to know that, too, because so many times you hear the public, just from where I'm sitting, just in my chair of media, just observing is, organizations they hear, but they don't listen. Or maybe they hear and they just keep moving forward. But I love that. It's not, this is a bad idea. It's what we want to do. It's just, we're going to listen a little bit longer and see what that conversation entails.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yes. It's super exciting. So definitely can keep giving to that online. Those projects are in the, I guess, on the pipipeline.
Yeah, coming down the pipeline.
Yeah, we wanted to get through this and find out the temperature of the community. Like, can we get on the same page with this? Like, because I think like there's a lot of, like I said, not in my backyard.
Yeah.
I think getting property in Madison County is going to be tough for anybody anywhere.
True.
For this particular thing.
True.
And so putting the feelers out with where everybody is, and I know that we have our naysayers and the ones that just don't want it here. But I do think that there's a solution that they'll be happy with as well if we can keep talking. And I think that hopefully we come across some people who are like, hey, I have some property, I have a farmhouse, I have this, I have that. Maybe we can, donate, give money, give project materials. I know Jason did a great job working with some of the local high schools with having them build our first spec house, our tiny home.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Well, and with that being said, too, for more information, you can go to handuphousing.org. That's handuphousing.org, 501c3, so tax-deductible donations right around the time Uncle Sam's going to be knocking on your door. So might as well get those in. And Danny, before I let you go, anything else you can fill us in on ahead of the 11th?
On the website, there is the event page or the event tab, and that is where you go to RSVP for the event. We were trying to get everyone to RSVP, but we're not going to turn anyone around at the door. We would love to have it standing room only. Really? But if you want to guarantee your seat, you choose from the two pages right there, the morning session on the left and the evening session on the right.
There you go. Look at that. That's easy.
Yeah.
handuphousing.org/events.
Perfect.
Bingo.
Yeah.
Danny, it was great talking with you.
Yes,
would love to have you back on the show. And thank you again for having your time spent with us this Friday.
Yes, thank you.
We'll take a quick break. OSF Healthcare, they join us next right here in the heart of the 618.
Oh no, another bad headache?
Yeah.
Maybe it's time to see your doctor.
OSF Healthcare can handle all of your family's primary care needs, including diagnosing health issues or referring you to a specialist. Schedule an appointment today.
No matter the season, Play It Again Sports in Edwardsville has the gear the athletes need to get in the game. Whether you're shopping for the newest sports equipment or saving money on quality used gear, Play It Again Sports carries what you need to maximize performance to get the most out of every swing, kick, stroke, or shot. We'll even buy your used goods, paying cash on the spot. We carry all the gear for all the sports all year long. We're your hometown sporting goods store. Play It Again Sports, conveniently located at 4 Club Center Court in Edwardsville.
Yo, what up? It's Mike Keith, the proud graduate of Lewis and Clark Community College. I got my start in broadcasting and now I work all over the country. I discovered my path in media, but I could have been an electrician. Or I could have been a nurse.
Maybe not.
Get paid to go solar.
We're not solar bros. At Grid, we're solar pros. We explain the process behind solar power so you can make an informed decision. We'll work with you to make owning your power as simple as possible and affordable with zero down financing and payment options. Our only goal is to save you money. Call GRID when you're ready to be independent of the power company.
Looking for the best barbecue in Madison County? Head over to Carver's Barbecue in Godfrey, Illinois. From loaded barbecue nachos to mouth-watering pulled pork, brisket, ribs, and more, Carver's serves up award-winning flavors you'll love. Family-owned, Carver's is all about fresh, made in-house dishes served daily. Come visit us at 2716 Groveland in Godfrey, or give us a call at 618-467-9999. Order online, get it catered, or stop by for the best smoked meats around. Where great flavors meet family tradition, you'll find Carver's Barbecue.
Since 1993, Sparks Junk Removal is always adapting to the needs of our clients. That is why we now offer weekly trash pickup for selected areas. Plus, we offer driveway-safe rubber-tired dumpster rental. Give us a call today at 618-781-1407 or visit us at sparksjunkremoval.net.
You're listening to Our Daily Show with CJ Nasello on RiverBender.com.
Welcome back to our daily show on this Thursday morning. You know, the Super Bowl is right around the corner, and a lot of us are getting ready to make our plans for our families to get together, our friends to come together. But one thing that we somewhat take for granted, and we all too much do, is safety and getting home. And each and every time we talk about events, holidays, just like the Super Bowl and celebrations, there's always that statistic on impaired driving and what it does to families and the wrecks and the statistics that are there. Sheila Lockwood is with Mothers Against Drunk Driving, a national ambassador, and joins us now via Zoom. Sheila, thank you so much for joining us today.
Well, thank you very much for having me, and thank you for talking about this very important subject.
Well, and Sheila, before we dive into this conversation as a whole, for our audience, could you give us your story, if you could, just to familiarize yourself with our region?
Absolutely. So I became a MAD National Ambassador last January when they started the Ambassador Program. It's 100% volunteer. I became involved with MAD in 2018. My oldest son, Austin, was murdered by a drunk driver on June 10th of 2018. Since that time, obviously my life was turned upside down. And I realized how important this is and how there's not enough information out, how the laws aren't quite fitting for the crime of drunk driving. It is a preventable crime that we definitely, it's 100% preventable. And we all need to do our part in order to, end this preventable crime.
100%. And really quick, Sheila, I'm so sorry to hear that happened to you, but really inspirational to know that you're using your son's life to really tell his story and share it with others and help hopefully other families. And you're right, there is zero tolerance as far as we're concerned for drunk driving. You make that choice whether you're impaired from alcohol or any other impairing device. And Sheila, since your time joining the organization as a national ambassador, take me through some of the work that you've been able to do and some of the faces and families that you've been able to meet.
Absolutely. So locally, I have been able to get a law changed in Illinois that it is no longer considered an accident. It is a crash. So all statutory documentation in the state of Illinois now refers to these types of incidents or crashes as a crash. They are not an accident. An accident means that it was an oops. It is preventable, and therefore it should be deemed that way. And it is a crash. In Wisconsin, I was able to help be a part of getting a couple laws put into place. One of them, when my son was murdered, it was said that he should get, the person that took his life should get 10 years probation. There was no minimum for homicide, OWI, and that's what Wisconsin calls it, OWI. And so I was able to help get that law changed, and now it's a minimum of 5 years. So now if you take a life in the state of Wisconsin, you are looking at a minimum of being behind bars, which when Austin was taken from me, I was absolutely devastated that this person might just take my son away from me and walk freely. Another law in Wisconsin was also putting a minimum jail sentence or prison sentence after your 5th or 6th OWI, which is absolutely ridiculous that you
100%.
get that many in the first place. But now there's 18 months behind bars. And then most importantly, MAD across the nation worked very hard with the Abbas family on the HALT Act. And that we were able to get put in, signed by President Biden, that all new vehicles should have technology on them to stop impaired drivers. And what it is, it's technology that will allow the car to start, but it won't allow it to move. So if it detects that the driver is impaired, the car won't move. So now we're not looking at punishment after the fact. We're looking at preventing, and that is most key in this terrible war we've got against drunk driving.
You know, 100% over. And time after time, you have these weekends where, you know, we promote the celebration of really, you know, alcohol-induced times with our friends and family. We do it every major holiday. We're always seeing the wine, the beer, the spirit promotions. And, you know, time after time, there's not really that disclaimer on there where it says call an Uber. There's some type of, you know, smoking kills scenario that's on the back of that drunk drive or the drinking ads. And what I think so important is, and I'm sure Sheila, you know so much more about this, is the fact that if you can prevent one, you're not just preventing one person, you're preventing tens and 20 and hundreds of people from going through the most tragic experience of their lifetime.
Absolutely. And it's not an experience, it's an every single day. So
imagine.
while that happened one time, I've had to live every single day since that. About 2,500 days without my son.
And
every single day, 37 people are taken away from their loved ones from this preventable crime. And now we've been watching the news about that plane crash in Washington, D.C. that is horrific. But if you think about it, every 2 days, statistically, there's more people taken from drunk drivers that plane crash took. This is something that we should be looking at and putting names and faces to these crashes because it's preventable and it's devastating so many lives. My life will never, ever be the same. Everything that I had thought about for my future was ruined and taken away because my future, it included my son.
Right. Well, and Sheila, you know, there's so many families around here locally here in just the Alton, you know, Madison County area that, you know, unfortunately, we have to report on going through so many similar circumstances. And the one that always hits close to all of us is the loss of a little girl at 2 years old that was, you know, walking just, you know, in her yard and an impaired driver murdered her. And, you know, and just like you said, these sentences are way too short. There's not enough accountability. And what you guys are doing to raise awareness and raise these laws and statutes up are so important. But what it's also important are these campaigns that you're doing and finding ways to team up with folks and raise more awareness during these drinking holidays. And I know that we're limited on time, so I wanted to dive into this Take a Minute, Make a Plan campaign because it is so important.
Absolutely. We know that when people are preparing for special events like the Super Bowl, it's a big day. They're thinking about what they're going to wear, what they're going to serve at their home for food and beverages, or where they're going to go, if they're going to tailgate, you know, if they're getting tickets, whatever they're doing. But part of the planning should be, how are you getting there and how are you going to get a safe ride home? And if you're hosting a Super Bowl party, make sure that your guests do not leave impaired. Make sure that you've got designated drivers. You provide them a place to stay if you've got that luxury, or that they just have a safe ride home, Uber, Lyft, whatever it is. Be a good host and make sure that nobody ever leaves your party and doesn't make it home safely.
Well, and on top of that too, Sheila, you know, Uber and Lyft a lot of times give out credits through a lot of these campaigns where you can even get, you know, not maybe a free ride, but a $10 off or $15. That's basically the entire Uber ride for a lot of towns to get back home and get your car the next day. You know, and the thing that always stuck home to me was it's just the fact that people still in this day and age with all this technology and all these apps, why are we taking a chance? I mean, That's what doesn't register to my generation. And for me, it's like, what are we doing here, folks? I mean, why are we putting all these people's lives in risk? And, throughout the year, I know that all of you at Mothers Against Drunk Driving do your part to raise awareness. And if you could, take me through some of the things that we can keep our eyes out for in the next couple of months or throughout the year of what Mothers Against Drunk Driving has plans for in terms of maybe a national effort and anything regional as well.
Okay, well, anytime you want to know anything, go out to mad.org. Mm-hmm. We've got all of the information out there. We've got a helpline if that is needed. We have walks in many, many communities in all the states across the United States. So if you want to participate in a meaningful day out, they're usually in the nicer weather. I know ours in Illinois is around the October timeframe. You can donate. There are different vigils that we have, and we are always talking before different holidays. You will hear us before Christmas, before Thanksgiving, before New Year's. We're talking to you now before the Super Bowl. We've got St. Patrick's Day is also a big day that people, want to go out and celebrate. So, we do try to make our presence known and try to urge people to, if you're going to go celebrate, be safe, get a safe ride home.
Absolutely. And Sheila, before we let you go, is there any final message you have to the St. Louis Metro East region and to the RiverBender.com audience today?
No, just thank you so much for having me. And whatever you do this Sunday as you're celebrating and watching the game, make sure that you get a safe ride home.
Absolutely. Sheila Lockwood, a national ambassador for Mothers Against Drunk Driving. You can find out more about the Take a Minute, Make a Plan campaign on the Mothers Against Drunk Driving website. We'll link everything on a write-up on RiverBender.com ahead of time. Sheila, once again, thank you so much.
Thank you very much for having me.
We'll take a quick break. More Daily Show comes up right around the corner right after this.
Hey, would you drop by the pharmacy? My doctor switched my cholesterol medication.
Yeah, will do, honey. I'm glad he's looking out for you.
OSF Healthcare can handle all of your family's primary care needs, including managing chronic conditions. Schedule an appointment today.
Life's better when you're under the American Family Insurance roof because they know your house is home base for their dreams. Whether it's a kid like me aiming for the big leagues, ready, future rocket scientist, or a budding prima ballerina. When you feel totally protected, your family's free to pursue their dreams. She's good.
Let's go.
American Family Insurance.
With over 20 years of experience, Wilson's Tree Service has the expertise to handle all of your tree care needs. Licensed and fully insured, their team of experts are dedicated to providing reliable service. Plus, with a 24-hour emergency service line, Wilson's will always be there for you. Don't risk tackling that timber by yourself. Trust the local professionals at Wilson's Tree Service. Visit treeservicealtonil.org to get started today.
No matter the season, Play It Again Sports in Edwardsville has the gear the athletes need to get in the game. Whether you're shopping for the newest sports equipment or saving money on quality used gear, Play It Again Sports carries what you need to maximize performance to get the most out of every swing, kick, stroke, or shot. We'll even buy your used goods, paying cash on the spot. We carry all the gear for all the sports all year long. We're your hometown sporting goods store. Play It Again Sports, conveniently located at 4 Club Center Court in Edwardsville. Picture This and More has been a trusted name in the Alton community for more than 30 years, with the last 3 being right here on Broadway. We specialize in quality framing at affordable prices. We also feature works by local artists because we're proud of our community. If you have valued treasures to display and preserve, we're sure to have the perfect fit with our large selection of custom framing and display options. Whatever color, shape, or size, Picture This and More has the look you need. Stop by today and let us help you with your next project.
Village Dispensary has the best deals in Godfrey, Illinois with specials 5 days a week. Mondays, roll in the week with 20 to 30% off select pre-rolls. Tasty Tuesdays, enjoy 20 to 30% off select edibles. Waxy Wednesdays, enjoy 20 to 30% off select concentrate and vape brands. Thirsty Thursdays, sip and save with 20 to 30% off all drinks. Flower Friday, grab select 3.5 gram flower deals starting at just $20. Village Dispensary, come meet your best buds.
You're listening to Our Daily Show with CJ Nasello on RiverBender.com.
Telling you what
is a Snowmageddon Monday out there. All of us snowed in, but our daily show continues with a great conversation now with the CEO of Matson Money. Mark Matson joins us via Zoom. How are you doing on this Monday morning, sir?
I'm doing great, getting the year started with some energy and passion here. Starting out with your show.
And thank you so much for doing that. And it seems like a lot of people are getting energized about maybe the potential of better financial security going forward. And right now, as it sits on the 6th day of the 25th, 2025, how are we feeling? How are you feeling personally about this year?
Well, I'm feeling great about this year, and I'm feeling great about the next 4 years, quite frankly. I think what we witnessed was nothing short of a miracle as Trump won the election. I really restored my faith in America, our values, our freedoms, our morals, our ethics. I think a lot of folks in the financial industry like myself are very positive, feeling great that this country can really make a good turnaround after the last 4 years of devastation.
Well, and on top of that, Mark, President Trump has outlined a plan to stabilize prices, restore purchasing power. And from your perspective, how do these policies align with the financial strategies that you advocate for and talk about all the time?
Well, one of the things we always talk about is our equities. Equities are the greatest wealth creation tool known to mankind. Historically, large stocks have averaged about 10% per year, so your money doubles in every 7.2 years. Small stocks have been in the ballpark of 12%, small value stocks in the ballpark of 14%. So historically, equities, owning stocks, not only in the United States, but also globally, is one of the ways that people can fulfill their American dream. And Trump is very pro-equities, very pro-free markets. Look, it's not just what he's getting ready to do. For example, hold on to the tax cuts that most people got in 2017. You have to admit what he's going to prevent. You had proposals for tax rates to go away, the tax benefits. You had people wanting to do away with the state tax benefits. You wanted people to, Harris wanted to take taxes, capital gains taxes, make them ordinary taxes. It was even the idea of floating a wealth tax on capital gains you hadn't even made yet was floated. This would have been devastation for the economy. Inflation would have continued to spiral out of control. Jobs would have been lost. So we really dodged a bullet on this one.
Well, and on top of that too, Mark, and you know a lot more about this than I do, but just in my perspective and my demographic and my generation, it seems like that American dream, quote unquote, is just becoming less and less obtainable for younger people, or our perception at least, where we're going, man, we aren't going to be like our grandparents. How can you see some of these policies starting to maybe energize my group of young Americans that are ready to tackle that dream?
Yeah, and I want to just say for all the young people out there, look, the American dream is still attainable. It's still real. With hard work and determination, it's out there. We have more entrepreneurs than ever in the United States of America. Almost half of everyone's employed by a small business, not a large Fortune 500 company. So there are a lot of opportunities. Look, a couple things to remember. When people think about the American dream, here's the kind of things they want. They usually want a family. They want to have a secure job. They want to be able to save for retirement. They want home ownership. And all of those things were getting harder. Inflation took off like crazy. I've been asked, well, was inflation transitory? Inflation is never transitory, meaning it's only temporary, because it's permanent. Once it's in there, it doesn't go back down. So these prices are up 30, 40, 50% in some areas over the last 4 years. That has to come down. Interest rates for mortgages has to come down. More high-paying jobs where people can work to create enough wealth and prosperity for their dreams. People have to start investing again. A lot of people were taking money out of their 401ks just to live off of. And now we have to start getting back to hard work, saving 10 to 15% of your money every year, investing in equities long-term for young people. having an emergency fund. And I think there's going to be a lot of opportunities for that to happen in the future.
Well, you spoke on inflation, and that's something that really has just hit every family. You know, walk the grocery aisle, and if you feel comfortable paying $8 for cereal, God love you. I can't personally. And, Mark, with that, Donald Trump's approach to tackling inflation, how do you see this benefiting American investors and families that are looking to maybe preserve their wealth or maybe even establish it too?
Yeah, inflation is a real killer.
Yeah.
It's an economic killer. Look, what most people don't understand is inflation is a form of taxation. And it's regressive, which means that the people that make the least amount of money get hit hardest by inflation. If you're making $10 million a year, you can only eat so many cheeseburgers, right? And maybe your property, your real estate, and your business might be going up in value. But if you're in the lower middle class or in poverty, these inflationary taxes on energy, on food, these are a form of taxation, and they need to be brought down. Dr. Art Laffer, who won the Presidential Medal of Freedom from Donald Trump, was on our academic board. And inflation is really, really simple. You have too much money chasing too few goods. So you have to reduce government spending. You have to let people have more of their own money to buy products and services. That means tax reductions. And you got to open up free markets, and you have to reduce the very, very high cost of natural gas, natural energy, because if you don't, those things drive everything. They don't just drive your car. They drive manufacturing of your cell phone and your glasses and your clothing, and energy affects everything, and those prices have got to come down to get inflation under control.
Well, and on top of that too, with the economy where it is and where inflation being at the pace it's at, there's also this talk that Donald Trump's had about maybe expanding career opportunities. We've had that national conversation. The visa argument was coming into play, but I wanted to ask about this emphasis on expanding career opportunities, because I think that goes hand in hand to maybe how an American can start tackling some of these rising costs and these gotcha bills, is what I call them. The ghost fees that are always there. How can families leverage these pathways to, prosperity and really just long-term financial support in terms of what the president's proposing, President-elect's proposing?
Yeah, when you look at some of his proposals, number one, he wants to keep the tax cuts of 2017. If it's a corporation and they're manufacturing goods in the United States, he wants to drop their income taxes to 15%. He wants to take 21 to 20% for normal corporations. He wants to give a $5,000 tax credit for children in the family. So there's a lot of very pro things. You're going to get to keep more of your money under this administration than you would have. That's very pro growth here for you. But I think the key thing here is mindset.
Okay.
The mindset. People always say, "What's the best investment?" I always say, "Well, your best investment is investing in yourself."
True.
And they say, "Well, how do I get started?" And I to many people's surprise, I say, "Start at the bottom." Look, if you don't have a lot of experience, if you don't have a lot of money, if you have a lot of debt from student, start at the bottom and work harder than the next guy. Work harder than the person next to you. Show up early. Work late. If you work for an entrepreneur, they're going to notice. They're going to see. They're going to give you more opportunities. They're going to give you raises. They're going to give you more training and education. And that is very much available in the United States and America. We have so much opportunities for someone who's willing to work hard, that has grit, that's willing to outwork the next person. And don't sit in your home in your basement on your computer. Go to the office so your boss can see your face. Do yourself a big favor. Don't ghost yourself and hide out at home. Get to work.
Well, and I wanted to follow up on that. I think that point is so vitally important for so many people, because I'm like the outlier in my generation. I feel like the old guy that's yelling at everybody saying, let's get up and let's go. How important is it for us to get the stick out, and all proper ways to say this, but quote unquote, let's get the stick out and let's get to work? Because I think a lot of this in my generation is this kind of woe is me mentality that's not getting us anywhere.
Brother, you just nailed it 100%. In the book that I just wrote called Experiencing the American Dream, I talk about mindsets and how critical they are. They're screens by the way that you see the world. And my grandfather, who got us out of the hills and hollers of West Virginia, but never got us out of poverty, he had a mindset about the world. Money's evil. Money's hard to get. He was a victim. He saw himself as a victim. He saw himself as entitled to money he didn't create. In this victim mentality is the absolute destroyer of your American dream. I call it a money demon. On the other hand, my father had this view of the world where if you add enough value to other people, if you serve other people, if you ask, what can I do to bring value to them instead of what can I get for free, then you have a whole different way of seeing the world, a way of freedom, a way of capitalism, of free markets, hard work, entrepreneurism, individuality versus entitlement and a victimhood. And those two different ways of seeing the world will, in a large capacity, determine whether or not you have your American dream or you become an American victim of entitlement and the liberal way of looking at the world. Look, liberals don't want success. They want people to fail, because if they fail, you got to stay committed to getting the government handouts.
Well, and I'm just, to follow up on that, I've given a couple of speeches around the region here too, and I just hope people are listening to me for my generation and listen to what you just had to say, because we have to grab the ball eventually and put it in our hands and let's start moving forward. And on top of that all too, I think that's why, and you've got a sense on this by talking to so many people and your finger on the pulse, but it's not really, to me, for my generation, wasn't the policies of Donald Trump, it was the attitude for so many of my generation that kind of gravitated towards him. And is that something that you're seeing too, was just maybe this, let's get back let's get back to working hard and going back to what we used to do?
Yeah, I heard recently they were talking about the two world leaders. They were talking about Hitler and they were talking about Churchill. Mm-hmm. And one thing was that Hitler had people believe that he could do anything. Churchill had people believing they could do anything. And I think under a Trump presidency, if you start to have a more optimistic outlook, if you start to look for those opportunities, the problem isn't unemployment. The problem is that people won't go to work. There's over 6 million jobs that are available, that are open, that people won't take. So, we've been a little sheltered here in America. We've really had it well for a long time. And I think that makes people a little lazy, a little apathetic, setting back on their heels instead of going out and chasing it. But if you're willing to work hard and figure out what can you create value for other people, and the capitalistic system will create value for you if you're willing to create value for others. And it's an amazing thing. Capitalism is incredible. It's the greatest wealth creation tool the world has ever known. And as an American, you're entitled to it. You're entitled to freedom of speech.
It's true.
Freedom of capital, freedom to start your own company. Look, you and I aren't having this conversation if we live in Russia right now. We're not having this conversation if we live in Cuba or Venezuela or Iran. There are great opportunities here in America.
Well, and you're right, Mark. And, we have a couple of minutes left here. And it just goes back because people ask me all the time, they go, man, how'd you get this show on the road? Because I did it. It wasn't this big equation. You just did it. I worked in radio and said, let's try this. And no matter what, we just got to keep trying. We got to put the feet down and we got to work. And now with that being said, how do President Trump's overall economic policies, I know that there's, talks of tariff. What does that actually mean? How do they how do these policies, this economic vision, how does it resonate with just your personal philosophy, throughout this whole process?
There's never, even in marriage, there's never a perfect fit. You always have to have conversations about things you have to work through. So I love President's policies overall. Not a huge fan of tariffs. Mm-hmm. He's suggesting a 20% tariff on everybody, a 60% tariff on China. I talked to Dr. Arlaffer just the other day. He said, look, the tariffs, one thing about Trump, and he definitely has this, I'm not great at negotiation. I'm pretty bad at it, but he's great at it. And what he does is he uses those tariffs as a negotiating tool, as a negotiation chip. And so I'm not really worried about the tariffs so much. I'm not worried about a trade war. I'm worried about real war. I'm worried about Iran and Israel. I'm worried about Russia and Ukraine. And that's a key thing for the global economy to heal and recover, is for Trump to help end those wars. That's going to be a key for inflation. That's going to be a key for stability and for growth for our country and other countries. And he's building a coalition, not just of the United States, but all these other foreign leaders. And I think he'll do a great job at it, much better than Biden.
Before I let you go, Mark, and I really appreciate your time this Monday morning, I wanted to ask you, finally, before I let you go, talking just a little bit about everything here today, and what I think such a big component is not everything is going to be given to us as an American citizen. Just because we voted for X, Y, or Z doesn't mean X, Y, or Z is going to be giving us the world. There's got to be a working component to it. If Trump's policies are implemented and the American, everyday American, like myself or anybody else, is starting to put that work in, how does your vision of the American dream currently shift once you start seeing these things in action?
Yeah, I think it just, my view of it doesn't shift, because my view of it is that the American dream is not just having money or materialism. It's having a positive outlook. It's creating wealth for others. It's freedom. It's independence. It's family. And I think it's freedom of speech and freedom of religion. It's freedom of the press. And I think you're going to see much more freedom. And we had a lot of restrictions under President Biden. And I think that was going to get worse. My hope for this country and the American dream, and for people striving for it, this is a great time to be an American.
Mark, all I know is that it snowed 10 inches here in the St. Louis area, and I was struggling to get into work today. I had to look like Tony Soprano walking through the woods, you know? But you gave me the energy, man, to fire me up. I hope to talk with you again soon. Thank you so much for your time, and the best Monday you can have.
Yeah, absolutely. Take care of yourself out there in that snow. Thanks, brother.
We'll talk again soon. Mark Matson, the CEO of Matson Money. More Daily Show right around the bend after a quick break in the heart of the 618.
Get access to care for anyone, anywhere, at any time. No appointments, no waiting rooms, no traveling. OSF on call.
Village Dispensary has the best deals in Godfrey, Illinois, with specials 5 days a week. Mondays, roll in the week with 20 to 30% off select pre-rolls. Tasty Tuesdays, enjoy 20 to 30% off select edibles. Waxy Wednesdays, enjoy 20 to 30% off select concentrate and vape brands. Thirsty Thursdays, sip and save with 20 to 30% off all drinks. Flower Friday, grab like 3.5 gram flower deals starting at just $20. Village Dispensary, come meet your best buds.
Picture This and More has been a trusted name in the Alton community for more than 30 years, with the last 3 being right here on Broadway. We specialize in quality framing at affordable prices. We also feature works by local artists because we're proud of our community. If you have valued treasures to display and preserve, we're sure to have the perfect fit with our large selection of custom framing and display options. Whatever color, shape, or size, Picture This and More has the look you need. Stop by today and let us help you with your next project.
Looking for the best barbecue in Madison County? Head over to Carver's Barbecue in Godfrey, Illinois. From loaded barbecue nachos to mouth-watering pulled pork, brisket, ribs, and more, Carver's serves up award-winning flavors you'll love. Family-owned, Carver's is all about fresh, made in-house dishes served daily. Come visit us at 2716 Groveland in Godfrey, or give us a call at 618-467-9999. Order online, get it catered, or stop by for the best smoked meats around. Where great flavors meet family tradition, you'll find Carver's Barbecue.
You're listening to Our Daily Show with CJ Nasello on RiverBender.com.
It's a drop-in between 4:30 and 6:30. If you want to drop in and just kind of see what we're up to, ask questions, learn more about us. If you're interested in volunteering, it's just a very informal, drop-in kind of experience just to see what's up and whether you want to be involved.
Well, and there's a lot to be involved in, really, too. And what I find fascinating is every time you come on the show, we talk a little bit more just about the community involvement side, but also from the policing side of things and how really just the work that you've been able to do and collaborate with the Alton Police Department on has really been just a step and above a lot of other areas, truly.
Yeah, I mean, it really is. I mean, there's some things going on in some other agencies, so we're definitely not the only ones in the game. And, there's a lot of people doing really good things. So this isn't about, kind of tooting our own horn. It's like there's a lot of need. And so I feel like, we need to voice that, and we need to understand that if we had everybody at the table, there's significant need out there. But we also, one thing I want to talk about today is, we still need to celebrate those success stories, because these are people's lives behind these numbers. I can say, oh, we've assisted this many people this year, which I've been working on our annual report for 2024, and that's going to come out soon. And so we do have those numbers, but we need to tell stories, and we need to understand that those are people behind those numbers. And that's kind of, what it's all about.
Well, and that's a really good point to make about that too, is, a part of every recovery, there should be a celebration, because, it takes a lot of work to really go through that process and really understand it and really rediscover yourself in that journey too. And so, it's pretty easy to dogpile somebody when they're already down and out, and it's pretty easy to kind of jump on the train, but create your new one whenever you're building that person back up again and recognizing that hard work and sacrifice that goes into, really getting better for yourself and your loved ones.
Well, I would say, especially with law enforcement and first responders, and you obviously know this, but all too often they see people, they help people, they report on the scene, maybe in some cases revive people or connect them to services or not, and then they never see that person again. Mm-hmm. And I would suspect that it's because they assume they've either died or moved on to another area, right? And that's not a good way to think about it, because what's quite possible, and I'm proof, and I'll tell you more, is that person found recovery and they go on to be a contributing member to society and help other people and all the good things. So you talk about a celebration. I couldn't agree more.
100% over, Jake. And by the way, Jake has joined us for the first time, so we have to break the ice here. How I do that is I normally spell something wrong the first time I have somebody on. Megan's name is easy, so I got lucky. Did I spell your last name right? Let's look at the lower third here.
It is correct.
Did I do it? Oh, God, yeah, I'm on fire this week. I haven't had a single typo all week.
There you go.
It's like I have a new flip sign. I'm on 7 days. But, awesome. Jake, I really wanted to talk with you about this film premiere and this panel discussion. I feel really honored that you guys asked me to be a part of it. Yeah. It comes down the pipeline March the 1st, 2 to 4 p.m. at Lewis and Clark College over there at the Hathaway Cultural Center. And, Jake, let's take us through really what this film's about and what this whole discussion's going to be about, too.
Well, so I'm honored to be a part of it, but really my story is one of many. Mm-hmm. And I think what this film can do is bring awareness to that fact, that it is one of many. I think, again, all too often people see maybe someone who's homeless in their own community, in their own neighborhood. And, we have a tendency as humans to maybe judge and make assumptions. Mm-hmm. A film like this, it's an impact statement, and what it does is it's going to, I hope, it's going to inspire hope, and honestly, push back a little bit against the stigma that mental health and substance use disorders are, arguably diseases that can be treated, and with the right support and with the right connections and with the right community support and collaboration, we can fight this thing, man. We can help people.
Well, and if it's okay with you, take me through a little bit of your journey, if it's all right to ask.
So it is. I don't want to give up too much though, because a lot of this will be a lot of this will be come out in the film. But I've experienced the lowest of the lows. I've experienced homelessness. I was an IV substance user. I jobless, carless, no transportation. I mean, I was a drifter, I guess, as sometimes they're referred to. I've been in and out of emergency departments and behavioral health units, and just the gutter of society, I guess, maybe. And, it wasn't until I had an encounter because trust me, there were many encounters with law enforcement, right? And I usually ended up in handcuffs or a jail cell. But it wasn't until the last encounter with law enforcement, who were critical intervention team, CIT officers, and they met me with compassion, and they provided some options, which was new to me because that had never happened. There was always only one option for me, and that was jail. But in this case, they provided me with some other options. And long story short, it was the pivotal point in my life that led to what is now long-term recovery.
It's incredible. I mean, truly incredible. And congratulations, too, on all the work you put in. And, Megan, with this panel discussion, take me through Sacred Space's involvement in it and how important it is for your organization to, help, spotlight this film.
Yeah, so I had the kind of vision for this film. We had some funding where we wanted to be able to deliver the message that it really has to be a collaborative effort, that we need to elevate the voice of lived experience and try to work to change that narrative of what mental health challenges and substance use and homelessness is like. And so, Jake and I met a few years ago and just have developed this, we have a similar mindset, a strong connection with like what we want to bring to the community. And so asked him to be part of it. Eric Rimrod was the producer of it. Fantastic. I mean, kudos to him. He doesn't have a behavioral health background at all, but it was a very emotional experience for all of us recording the film. I think when you watch it, it's going to be hard to watch it without emotion because, addiction and these types of challenges, they touch everybody in some way, shape, or form, whether it's yourself, a family member, neighbor, loved one, whatever that looks like. So it was a moving experience for all of us. And, the message that we want to deliver with this event is just show up. Please show up. This isn't a time to hide in the shadows. Like, there's going to be many in that room who have experienced mental health challenges, substance use disorders, homelessness, some type of trauma, some type of, family dysfunction or broken relationships. I mean, you name it, it's going to be sitting in that room that day. And so this is a safe space for everyone. This is a film that everyone needs to see, in my opinion, whether you're coming to look for support for yourself, whether you have a family member that's struggling, whether you have people in your coworkers in your business, people in your pews at church, whatever it looks like, there are just people hurting and there's people struggling and at varying levels. So just show up at this event, watch this film, and we're going to, before the event, I didn't mention this, we're also going to have a resource area outside. So various providers and resources and social service in our community are going to have tables, resources available, and things for individuals to just chat with and grab some info. Then we're going to show the film, and then we're following it up with this speaker panel where we can just, as you are going to join us in moderating, just field some questions about this experience, about what kind of, support there's available to people, maybe take some questions from the audience and that kind of thing.
Well, I think it's really, just a really great point to make, honestly, over anything else is lived experience over perceived experience.
Absolutely.
And I think that,
I like that.
I think whenever you have those conversations, because we all have ideas, and we all have, ways that we can, save the world, quote unquote. But I think in this situation, you're only going to get improvements when you talk to folks that are in long-term recovery, that have that lived experience, that know what those processes were like under, maybe, different jurisdictions and different regions, how they were handled. Who knows?
Yeah.
But, it's a lot easier for me just to say do something when I've never lived it and never will hopefully live it. But you never know, that anyway, that's another topic. You never know when it could happen to you.
Yeah,
So I don't know. There's just so much with this that you can build on, because it just seems like so many times it's always tried to be decided upon by folks that just don't know. And that's just kind of my takeaway.
Yeah, I agree with you. And not just gaining perspective, but inviting those voices of lived experience along for the ride.
Yeah.
Like, this is collaboration. Like, we don't have time to, compete. Like, there's a lot of people in need, and everybody's doing their piece of the puzzle. And it takes that. It takes a village. Like, it's not, we're doing our thing and other people are doing their thing to support in this community, whether it's homelessness they're trying to address or substance use. Sacred is all about the root causes, which is always generally rooted in some type of trauma. And so we do stress that that's the continual message, is that there's a lot of programs and a lot of options out there for people. And, even living a life in recovery, you can go to treatment. And if you're just going through the motions but not healing those root causes, it's very common for relapse to happen, and very common for continual struggle, because we got to figure out now, like, the fact that we're using this, but why are we? What are we trying to fill? What kind of void or what kind of, numbing are we trying to give ourselves from the real root of what's, causing this? And so, that's a common trend for us, is trying to heal the root.
100%. And so how long is the film?
40 minutes.
Okay.
Just enough to really tell the story and tell it well, but not, have it be, I know attention spans are difficult these days, but we just couldn't really, we went back and forth and trying to do this in shorts that we can put out through social media. Like, we wanted to, but it's just, at some point you got to sit down. It's got meat to it. It's got depth to it. This is Jake's story with also me speaking in from a trauma perspective. We have law enforcement footage of, intervention that goes on in our community. So the Alton PD is featured in the film as well. And so it really kind of paints the picture of what this collaborative effort looks like in practicality.
And see, I like that you brought that up, because I think so many people just don't understand that. When we talk about, Alton Police Department's work and really the efforts they're putting in to deal with folks in trauma and the work that you guys put in together, but to go and see that and just see some of the real evidence of it at work, I think would benefit so many folks that are just not even curious, but just want to know more about what policing in our community looks like.
Yes,
that's not a speeding ticket anyway. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like true policing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Really cool.
Yeah, for sure.
Jake, what do you hope people take away from this?
Honestly, it's just it's insight into perspectives that most people in today's society simply don't have. And so education, perspective, a new perspective, resources. They're going to get resources while they're there. And honestly, I want it to have a far and wide positive impact on what honestly is an epidemic in our community with mental health and homelessness and substance use disorder. It's a well done film. It really is. Like Megan mentioned, for me, it was interesting to watch back and get the perspective of law enforcement.
Yeah. Oh, I bet.
I mean, it's never something that I've considered, and it's just neat to see and know. And then I think by being here, become a part of, the solution.
Well, and was it hard for you at all to do the film? I mean, because I know there's got to be tough points, and even though you could revisit something 100 times, it's still got to be. I'm just curious if that was painful at all.
Sure. Well, I'll say this: I've told my story many times to many different audiences, and it never gets easier. I mean, there are things that happened in my past that I am most definitely not proud of.
Right.
But at this stage of my life, at this stage of my recovery, it's almost strange to say, but I almost feel fortunate, or, I feel like the things that I've gone through were for a reason and good reason, because now I'm able to use those lived experiences to then, do something like this and be a part of something like this and impact the community and have a positive impact and then help people who are still struggling.
This is just incredible. You guys can learn more by going to the Sacred Spaces of Care Facebook page. There is a QR code, and we'll take you to the website here after a quick break. It's 9:49 on this Friday morning. It's 37 degrees. I don't know why that's saying 35. It's not getting colder out there yet. We'll take a quick break. More Daily Show comes right around the corner next in the heart of the 6
I'm singing, follow me, everything is alright. I'll be the one to tuck you in at night. And if you want to leave, I can guarantee you won't find nobody
turn the visor upside down. Here we go.
I'm not worried about the rain.
Welcome back. A little bit of Uncle Cracker and a lot of Megan, Tyler, and Jake back in the studio. Sacred Spaces of Care, and this really cool panel discussion and the showing of this film. It's going to be wonderful. The film premiere of Finding Jacob and the panel discussion. We've just been talking about it. If you're just tuning in, it will be available RiverBender.com/daily show on demand in about a few hours. 2 to 4 p.m. March the 1st. This is how many folks are a part of this?
So the Alton Police Department, along with Sacred, IRC, Illinois Recovery Center, where Jake works, and he's a recovery outreach specialist there. We do have a few other places. They were tremendous in it because they allowed us into their facility. We did filming within the facility.
Cool.
That's something else too. We were talking earlier about just community perspective. Like, most of us have never walked into a treatment facility. We don't want to know what looks on the inside or the intricacies of it.
Very true.
So getting to see that, and we have a few places in St. Louis that allowed us in that are part of his journey. Like, he literally walked his prior path, went to spaces where he had experienced homelessness and where he had been in, facilities and things like that. So
it was something else. There was even one point in the making of the film where we revisited a place where I sheltered, I guess you could say. Slept outside, more or less. It was something.
Man, that's going to be powerful to watch, honestly. I mean, really is.
It is very moving. And I find it, I know Jake personally. So not only is it, emotional and meaningful to me because of our relationship, but I have other people that are Jake in my life. And I think that if you walk in as maybe a family member of someone with a similar story, it's Jake's story, but it's everyone's story,
Right.
And so when I watch it, I also think of other people in my life that I love, that either some of them, luckily like him, are now living in a life of recovery. Some who, are still struggling with mental health or active addiction and things like that. And so I think it is moving for anybody in the room, I think.
Well, and I think too, another point about it is the fact that, there's always, those folks that are kind of on that edge, that line of, could it go down into that spiral? And sometimes I don't want to blame the loved ones, but you have, people that care about you that maybe get on you a little bit too hard, and it pushes somebody down a little bit of a darker path for whose reason or whose fault. It doesn't matter. It just happens. Yeah. And so to come here and kind of get some insights ahead of time, if maybe things aren't looking too good, it maybe could prevent you a long way by getting those resources too, and really working to stabilize things.
Yeah. Or the opposite of, enabling and kind of, taking.
Oh, very good point. Yeah.
Ways. It's really,
that's your expertise in it, though, because, that's where I think this is going to be so important, because for the folks that have my perspective, there's always that one, too. And you have all of them as you live it.
There's always the tough love versus the enabling and everything.
It's so important. Right?
You have to find what works for you and your.
I like it. Yeah. See, this is going to be really just an important. I'm glad you came on to talk about this. So thanks for stopping by. Seriously, Jake.
Yeah, and we didn't mention earlier.
Hold on.
So we would like to try to get people to reserve tickets, but you are not going to be turned away if you just show up the day of and don't have a ticket in hand. They do not cost anything. It's just to help us get a head count. So completely free of charge. We have enough sponsors of the event to cover the event cost so that we can just put it out there. And like I said earlier, don't let anything hold you back from coming.
Yeah, please do. And also to get a little bit of just a sense of the community spirit of Sacred Spaces of Care, and you can get a little bit more Jake too. He'll be there for a few minutes. You can be a part of the trivia night for Sacred Spaces of Care. And I like this because you interweave and make it Sacred Spaces of Care trivia night.
We do. So it's all about fun. It's a relaxed atmosphere. Have a great time. Trivia is supposed to be that way, but we don't let any opportunity kind of sneak by without weaving in, our mission and what we're about. So last year was our first one. We're repeating the event this year. It was so well attended. We had nothing but positive, vibes after that one. And so we interweave stories of lived experience and testimonials of people that have worked with us and have been able to have some successes and some change and things like that. And so we just really try to, and also just promoting our local providers and businesses. And so we're still accepting round sponsors for the event, auction items for the event, because we really want to promote what is available